Guys, welcome back for the first panel of the day. Welcome in the music metaverse. The panelists will discuss about how music is taking the stage in the metaverse and what future holds in terms of opportunities for new forms of creation, fan engagement, and monetization. The panelists are, and the host is Yvan Boudillet, CEO at The Link, Anne McKinnon, COO at Overview Arc, Thiago Correa, Director New Business and Ventures at Warner Music Group, and Gordon Midwood, CEO at Anything World. Guys, thank you very much for being with us, and the stage is yours.
Thanks, Jerome. Hello, everyone. Super glad to be again here with all of you for California Music Tech, and to start this day dedicated to fan and content. Let's say also engagement with this brilliant panel of what to call you, talents, entrepreneurs, music people. So I will start to ask you to introduce yourself, guys, and we're gonna then jump into some few questions to explore the metaverse and the intersection with music. And I think there is a lot of things to be said about this new frontiers for creativity, as we discussed, as Jerome told. We're going to explore creativity, engagement, and maybe also a little bit of business together. Maybe Anne, welcome here, and can you tell us about maybe a little bit of your journey and what Overview Arc is about and your role in the project?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me today. Apologies if there's a bit of background noise. I'm actually at the camera shooting film live here in the south of France. So bear with me with a bit of background noise. But yeah, my name is Anne McKinnon, co-founder of Overview Arc. We're creating a portal to the metaverse where musicians can connect with the 2.7 billion gamers in the world in a fully interactive and persistent virtual space. Walk down a street, discover concerts happen, find a musician you've never heard before, and go on quests and games in this interactive space. On my journey, I started as a journalist in the space covering the intersection of technology, gaming, virtual reality. I'm very excited to be here today and to share more about Overview Arc and what we're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Brilliant. Gordon, welcome in California, and tell us about Anything World in a nutshell, but also your journey to found this great project.
Cool. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Gordon. Really happy to be here. And I'm the co-founder of Anything World, which is a platform that brings any 3D object to life. And we feel like we're playing in the metaverse by allowing people to create any 3D scene they like using their voice or text. Don't necessarily have to code. And we bring whole 3D worlds to life using deep learning and machine learning. So we're trying to empower a new wave of creators to create 3D experiences. And we're doing that via AI. And my background is in video games. And I love music games, actually. I'm a huge music nerd, as I'm sure Thiago will back up. Well, he has to now, I've said that. But yeah, so I love music, love games, have a background in rhythm games, and we're creating this platform to bring all these 3D worlds to life. So it's super exciting to be here and chat about the intersection of music and games and the metaverse with you guys.
Brilliant. Again, yes, and we're gonna explore in more depth also the gaming aspect, like how music and gaming can play along in another panel in 1 hour from now. But I guess yes, there are some kind of intersection. No. I think it's exactly what we're going to talk about. And 2 sessions is not enough to explore everything that has to be explored. And Thiago, please come on stage and tell us about Warner Music. I'm not sure, but maybe a few words, but maybe mostly your role at Warner and
First of all, what I'd like to do is confirm that Gordon is a music geek, music nerd, as he said. That's confirmed. Second of all, hey everyone, thank you very much for inviting me. So I work at Warner Music, which I want to still introduce, even though Yvan probably knows it. Warner Music is one of the 3 major music labels. And the role that I play at Warner is focused on new technology, new business models, and new content formats. We look at anything that can have an impact in the way that we as a company operate, that our artists do their business, and that the wider entertainment industries are structured. And we look at those opportunities from a strategy perspective, from a partnerships perspective, and from a venture perspective. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I do. I'll keep more for later, of course.
For sure. Yes, good introduction. Let's start. I think could be useful for the audience to have a little bit not of a definition, but of a better understanding of what metaverse means and how to tackle that big question. I will ask you, would you define the metaverse to, let's say, an artist who is not familiar with the concept? Not for a tech audience or some expert audience, but really to the people you are potentially approaching to be part of your project. Maybe Anne, because you are doing also that connection with artists and gaming expert, but how you will define it, this new world?
Yeah, I think the metaverse will be many different things, even the music metaverse. What we're doing now is we're really laying the foundation for what it will look like in the future. And by putting the tools and the platform in the hands of the artists, it's really the artists who will take this to the next level and the audience will show us what will work. So when we describe what could the metaverse look like to an artist who's encountering this for the first time, we could think of the small festivals like maybe the very first Rock on Seine in France or South by Southwest, the very first time it emerged as just, grassroots music, small venues, incredible artists and talent coming together to meet with the music industry and to meet new audiences. And I think this is what is very important for a music metaverse is it needs to be a vibrant space where you have the capability of engaging with your audience and having a really incredible way of expressing what your story is with music, your unique style, and really engaging with your fans to build your audience. And that should also be a tool in this music metaverse. So taking everything that is in the traditional music industry and really bringing that into the metaverse to allow the continuation of this to reach more global audiences. And I'll let the other two also jump in on this question because again, It's going to be made of many different aspects, the music metaverse.
I love the grassroots element you bring to the table because this is so. Yeah. Anyway, I shut my mouth now. Thiago, your turn. How you define? You are in a meeting room in the Warner building or in your room on Zoom, and you have an artist, and you need to present new projects on the metaverse. Where do you start?
I think what Anne mentioned is probably what I would say. In fact, she just made me think of a comparison which I absolutely loved and hadn't thought of before. So thank you, Anne. Comparing the music metaverse to a festival like South by Southwest is actually a very interesting comparison. I'll bring it a little bit closer to home to where I am. So I'm in London, and in Brighton, 65 miles away, there's a very popular festival called The Great Escape. That festival back in the day, if you're not familiar with the story, was created by a promoter, but the venues and the other promoters of Brighton kind of rebelled against the promoter that created the original Great Escape, and they created something called the Alternative Escape, which is where every single venue, every single bar could put on their shows, could create their little part of this universe of music, right? I think Anne's comparison of a music metaverse to something like South by Southwest, something like this Alternative Escape, where you're part of this ecosystem, but you have the power to build your own thing, your own little part of that world, is actually a quite interesting comparison. Because if you put it into the world of digital, that's literally what it is. You have an ecosystem, a broader ecosystem upon which you have certain tools, certain elements that you can use to your advantage, but then you'll have your own UGW, user-generated world that you can create, you can customize, you can tailor. You're essentially owning it, but it's still part of that ecosystem, and everyone in that ecosystem can join in, can enjoy, and can see what you've done. I really love that comparison, so I would probably say what she said.
And so far, no one mentioned any tech keyword. Interesting. Gordon,
Can I copy Anne's answer as well? Because it was excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Well done. Thanks, Anne, for because I didn't know how to answer that question. But I think it is super interesting what we're talking about democratization of experiences and control, and also for artists and labels to give up a bit of control and allow people in this 3D world to create their own experiences, or to take ownership, or to share, to generate. There's definitely like a notion of empowering people to create their own worlds, and for artists and labels to give up control of exactly how experiences are like broadcast. But basically, I'm copying Anne's answer and Tiago's answer and adding a little bit on the end. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how the shift in ownership goes.
Yeah, and you mentioned 3 of the keywords I think that I would love to bring to the table as other themes for the conversation. Like ownership, we will keep for the end for about, let's say value chain, not only business model but value, but starting with empowerment and maybe creativity, because I guess when we have the conversation in a conference, usually we talk about sharing value, not too much about how we create those experiences that may generate value. Can we start with that? Maybe creativity and maybe examples of some experiences you developed music-wise on anything one of you, Anna, and you, Thiago, involving artists and or the fans, but some key examples of experiences that have been developed so far in the metaverse, and maybe it's also some potential new experiences on the way. But yeah, explaining to our audience what it could look like and how it could engage artists also to create those new experiences. Anne, maybe you want to start?
Yeah, I think from just about all artists, the world basically was canceled last year. But in a way, this is actually the perfect breaking point for all of us to come out of the pandemic and have these incredible new opportunities for all artists. And for example, what Gordon is doing is going to be so important part of the metaverse, so enabling creativity in an accessible way. So there are a few, I think, key points to the technology and creativity that's going to combine in the metaverse to create incredible music experiences. One is the real-time volumetric capture. So a lot of what we see today with Tomorrowland, even with Fortnite, a lot of it's pre-recorded. It takes 12 weeks, lots of rendering involved. It's a passive experience. And also a music experience is great because the amount of people you have there. So in a lot of the instances, so this is a bit more on the technical side, when you're in a multiplayer game, you can have about 40 people in the same, let's say venue. So we'll 40 person cap in the venue. But really what's going to make it exciting is when we have 500 or 5,000 people and you can hear them and see them and go to the event. And that's, I think, a really important part of the atmosphere of a festival. So without that, it's really lacking. So right now we're seeing the very beginning of these technology and creative tools are enabling that us to experience this. So it's real-time volumetric capture for engagement between audience and artist and creative expression, and also networking. So you have many people in the same space together. You have game engines such as Unreal Engine and Unity that are powering a lot of these experiences. And you have these incredible tools within that, such as avatar technology for both the artists and the audience. You have these incredible game experiences where you can interact, almost have a new type of concert experiences. So what we did over the last years, what my company overview arc, is we actually started by using a lot of other platforms. So we did virtual worlds tours to understand the different tools, interfaces, and what works and what really doesn't work for the music industry and for music performance. So you have a lot of these metaverses like VRChat, Sansar, Sciencebase that do many things, but a music metaverse has to have very specific tools for artists that make it easy to do performance, like iPhone 12 capture a performance live, easy for fans to engage, so a very familiar interface in terms of going in, even in onboarding, but also something that's very interesting for gamers, because that's the big opportunity here, when live music and the gaming market converge. And then, of course, I think having that social atmosphere. So can people talk with each other? Can people engage with each other? A lot of these experiences like Tomorrowland is very simple, beautifully done, but very passive experience. But I think when you can go into a virtual world, see your friend, buy your band t-shirt, maybe pick up someone on the way and drive them there if they're late, and have that experience where you lose someone along the way, this is what's going to be really cool, not just for the audience, but also for the artist that feels really at home in this environment.
Great, Anne. I think again you did a great capture of what let's say not only tools but the possibilities for artists and let's say innovative creators in general to develop some new experiences from yes, real-time volumetric capture. Maybe we will, after Thiago and Gordon contribution, we'll talk a little bit more about the social aspect of it, how to push the boundaries yeah, in other direction. Maybe Gordon, from your maybe you can tell a little bit more about what happens in anything world and how music take live in your environment and how artists can embrace that new experience.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what Anne was saying is again, and giving a great answer, like the notion of it not being a linear experience or like a controlled broadcast of a concert, as we've seen with things like Travis Scott, maybe giving up more of that control and empowering users and letting them customize and letting them invite their friends and just embracing the edge cases within these worlds, I think is the next step. And obviously the metaverse as a concept is kind of all over the place at the moment. Might be in Roblox, might be in Fortnite, might be in other people's custom platforms like the Wave, etc. But when that all comes together and you can view it from any device and people become much more native there, it's going to be much more interesting. And then, yeah, these experiences can be like the next generation of concerts. They can be anything you want them to be, customized in real time with hundreds of your friends there. So yeah, that's really interesting what Anne's talking about. And what Anything World's trying to do is empower people to create any 3D world they like at runtime too. So you can use your voice in our systems, in our apps to create 3D worlds. You can use messaging. We've done a couple of interesting things very interesting things with Warner Music for Pink Sweats and Ashniko, like activations, creations of 3D worlds super easily, which you can explore in a dynamic. We're working on an app called Sing and Play with them, where you sing along to your favorite Warner artists, and then 3D objects appear around you, and you can share that. And it's all kind of dynamic and procedural and unexpected in many cases, but it's kind of embracing like a new world that's not predefined, that's not preset, and empowering people to create these 3D worlds within music and gaming experiences. That excites us so much. I think like in general, AI behind the scenes is obviously super complicated, sometimes super boring and basically statistics, but for users, for end users, they can do things so much easier now than they could before, whether that's auto-generating an email, auto-generating a 3D world, creating music as a basis for a composition. So AI is lowering the barriers to creation, and music and gaming are converging, and all that stuff combined with what Anne's saying is very exciting for these new like musical 3D worlds.
Super interesting, because I love to hear that accessibility is on the way, because when you talk to most of the players, not the artists, but the live sector or some labels, it seems the creation process seems to be for them not accessible yet, because it seems like to be, wow, this is for 3D gaming studios and this is not for us. Is it for Warner Music, Thiago? I guess the answer is yes, because you're working a lot of that. But not only from your perspective, because I know you are really ahead of the curve on the topic, but really then in terms of how it goes down the line into the R&R process, label process. You see what I'm talking about? How it become normal as part of the creative and marketing and process of as a companion for the artist, and how Warner plays role in helping them to
we can talk a little bit about that, and probably I'll also segue into the point that you talked about.
Oh yeah, creativity,
the social and creativity. But
go ahead.
Certainly, we have been big proponents of the concept of metaverse or multiverses, and I myself have been waiting for this for quite a long time. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but we've been trying to talk with our artists for a while, explaining them the value of creating your own little space, their own little space in this wider universe that has a certain shared set of rules and a certain audience beholden to it. And I think that's where they resonate, right? So of course they want to be where their fans are. They want to be where new fans can be, because that's I think, not a professional artist myself, but putting myself in the artist's shoes, that's what they care about the most: their music, their work, and their fans, right? And so we need to provide them with opportunities that they can engage with and experience their fans in new ways, and vice versa, that the fans can experience them in new ways, in more perhaps unfiltered ways than before, right? And I think that's the exercise that we and our team are trying to do, right? I think someone mentioned with regards to control, right? If perhaps in previous years, labels would want to have these interactions between artists and fans in a very specific and controlled way, I think we are now much more happy to open up these channels of communication in a little less structured way, right? In ways that the artists can have a lot of creativity input into that. We'll always want that, but also where the fans, the users, can have a creative impact. And that's when I'm going to do a little segue, if you don't mind, to the whole social piece, because I have really been waiting for this point in time for a long time. So I have witnessed what I think are some very amazing social phenomenons over the years. So, for example, I played a game which is a amazing game, but I don't know if anyone who's watching would actually really like it, but it is a multi-user dungeon, acronym MUD. The MUD was created by Dr. Richard Bartlett. By the way, shout out to Dr. Richard Bartlett, a genius in the space. And in many ways, this was one of the first metaverses, if we want to use that expression, which is a purely text-based game. So imagine, if you will, like a Dungeons and Dragons, right? Which, in a sense, were also kind of a sense of metaverses that the people around the board shared. But it was on the computer using a telnet connection, and every single MUD had a set of squares. Each square was a unit location that people could be in, and then if they wanted to move north, south, west, east, they could, right? The interesting thing about this is that the map, the world, all of these squares could be customized some way and somehow by the users, by the players. Not just gods, not just developers, but everyone could use it. And I think that's a really interesting parallel that we're on the verge of breaking. Another example before I go on to that parallel. You might know Reddit. You might remember one of the most fascinating social experiments of Reddit, which was Place, where Reddit opened up a board of squares that everyone could customize. And what did you see? You saw an amazing flow of creativity, groups of people banding together to create their own bigger and bigger designs, trying to conquer other designs, right? So when you give unfiltered access and an unfiltered ability for users to be creative and shape the space, shape the squares, shape the world around them, that's really going to be a magical moment. And I think we are heading to a point where we are going to have, hopefully, fingers crossed, these types of metaverses where just in the same physical world that we inhabit, if you spray paint a wall, it's there. It changes that wall for everyone who is in that universe, in that wall, right? You're going to have metaverses that allow for this unfiltered creativity and control to change and impact the world around them by users for users. And that's really going to be exciting, because everyone then, hopefully, I think, will be so engaged and so focused on creating some amazing, beautiful things that I think artists and fans are going to have quite symbiotic experiences of creativity together. And that's going to be quite magical to witness.
Really, really inspiring, Thiago. And guys, oh, sorry, there's so guys in the audience. You have noted that Thiago from Warner Music has said control to change. So if you still think that the major label are the gatekeepers in the room, yeah, maybe you might change your mind. Anyway, it was my personal note as the next Warner Music guy. Gordon, I would love to hear you a little bit more on fan engagement, and from that point, lean a little bit to not business model yet, but to the value created from that, and talk a little bit about how you structure also your creation of value in anything world as a platform, but also as a company. So in two things, how do you structure that, and how then you monetize that engagement? Because I would love to go in the direction of then how we do monetize music within. But let's start as a bigger picture. How you create value in anything world, and from then we're going to talk about music.
Cool. Yeah. So what Thiago was saying was super interesting and inspiring, and interesting. Those kind of games are now created in AI with things like OpenAI, creating like endless text worlds or dungeons, and then with anything world we can visualize text. So it's kind of like using AI to lower the barriers and empower users to create their own spaces and share within a musical 3D world or any 3D world is very exciting. And how we see our value being added to people is you can use anything world, you can use your voice, or you can use text, or in any way easily create 3D worlds and save 30 to 40% of the time of the build of a 3D world. So that's like a core value proposition we bring. And you can also like create anything on the fly that you like, whether it's in a Warner Music app, or whether it's in a casual game. We have a lot of casual games on our platform. So this notion of lowering the barrier to 3D creation, saving time, but also creating emergent gaming worlds is what we really kind of bring to people. And we have a SaaS model for our platform and a revenue share model. So if you make more than 250,000 USD on our platform, you pay us a revenue share. So similar to like Unreal and Unity, we've kind of cut a business model between the two dominant engines. That said, business is not my strong point. Talking.
But no matter.
I mean, how to monetize it is interesting, but I think it's not really. I mean, if you think about gaming in general, it's bigger than the music and film industries combined globally. So, and there's so much money in gaming. So if there's money in gaming, there's money in the metaverse. And the notion of customization in every popular game you can think of. Roblox, Fortnite, all the big ones. Even Among Us, people drop a lot of money to have a little pet following them around. So people are very used to customizing, paying to customize their 3D world. So I think monetization is always available when you're in these worlds. I guess it's a way of doing that that's sensitive and respectful of people if they're creating their own spaces, and not putting artificial barriers. So you can't create this unless you upgrade a tier. You have to be quite careful. You think about the whole loot box controversy a few years ago in gaming. You have to be quite careful about how you monetize these worlds. But the opportunities to make money there, I think, are huge.
And I'm glad to hear that, because my view is engagement can be the value. So I'm not here to talk about ARPU or anything like that. We could, but it was more a question of value than just like a bottom line. Okay, it was how do you make it possible for maybe artists? And then I will give the mic to Anne about that, because you work with artists closely, Anne, and because we have already a question in the chat, because this is usually the questions that comes off again and again when we talk about new technologies in the world. It's how to make a living from an artist perspective, and this is the question we had also compared to the previous revolution. So the question was, Spotify brings super low value to the artist. How can Metaverse bring a better compensation? You see, it's already every 10 years we have the same. Oh, the previous revolution is not bad. And anyway, so Anne, your point about where is the value, but maybe not the bottom line dollar. Is it engagement? Is it real revenue made out of virtual goods? How do you see value creation in Overview Arc and in the metaverse in general?
Yeah, I think there's so many different business models we're exploring right now, because we're really looking at, well, first, I think in order to have a good platform that people actually enjoy being in and that evolves and grows, means that everyone has to have a role in this world. I think this is something that Thiago was speaking with. So whether it's your up and coming artist, whether it's a major label, whether it's your indie label, whether it's your fan, you'll have to have a sense of belonging there and being familiar with your role there. So as a music artist, can you perform? As a fan, are you going to have an amazing time? As someone in the music industry, can you have unparalleled insights into data, such as how many fans went, where did they go, are they returning fans, who loves to buy merch? So you get these really nuanced data insights that you've never received before. Even for someone who is a developer, there's a kind of new role in these concert experiences. But whether you're a new artist or someone who is maybe Dua Lipa, for example, need to have that sliding scale of making it an inclusive space. So for someone who's just starting, can they stream from their bedroom or can they stream from their home studio? For someone who is an artist with has a great budget for their campaign, can they apply that budget to this world and follow that traditional structure of releases and festivals and have that really top-notch performance level? In terms of monetization, I think for venues are also a key player in this. And Tiago had mentioned this about some artists are not as familiar with this space, but maybe they want to reach that audience. Other artists are native and growing up in this space, and they'll be very native into this space, maybe even do things that we never thought of. So for maybe it's a 400 capacity venue, can they stream this real-time live volumetric captured into the metaverse to an audience there and outsell their venue capacity? So maybe they have fans in Japan or fans in Argentina who will be able to come to a concert, whether or not it's COVID time, or maybe even local fans who, because the venue sold out, couldn't attend. So suddenly they can sell 10,000, 20,000 tickets, and that artist can reach 10,000 or 20,000 more fans in a much more interactive way, and even have VIP experiences that go along with their tour in the metaverse. So really having that integration with the campaign cycles, with festivals, with touring, and the data insights and social experience for everyone. So reason to come back and to be in this space, even when something isn't happening. So can an artist drop content in this world, almost like a treasure hunt? So Gordon, you said something that's really interesting, which is keeping up with the demand for content and how AI is going to play a really important role there. So what we actually did in some of our early events is we brought in live actors just because there's no way we could keep up with what the fans were talking about, what the fans were doing. So we brought in live actors in the space to engage with the audience. And we had these quest systems. So circling back now to monetization, really finding out what worked. So everyone wanted to buy a t-shirt. They were so excited that they could dress their avatar in a shirt. We gave away like free cars. So being able to have those brand partnerships, maybe someone gets to drive a Ferrari for the first time in this world. Having these different quest systems where they collect different icons to unlock a different track that no one's ever heard before. Buying, of course, tickets, having that ticket integration, which is actually something that's not you don't see this in the virtual worlds right now. So having these basic things that you monetize in traditional music sense, but also these new ways of monetizing microtransactions that really come from gaming and through digital assets and digital goods, which is especially interesting in the blockchain area right now. So there's a lot there. But I think exploring all these pathways and having this full circle ecosystem is really what's going to make a successful music metaverse.
Thanks, Anne. Coming to you, Thiago, let's say in the same theme, but maybe from another angle. Less about monetization and more about value chain. Value still, but value chains wise. Because Anne mentioned something really interesting about venues and let's say the live sector having their role to play in those worlds. And I remember a talk with John from Roblox talking about Roblox being the perfect platform for festivals or venues or live organization to just create their own space. How do you see cooperation between labels and live sector? I know that you are working on a 5G festival, a pilot project. Can you tell us about how do you see that kind of convergence coming into play? Like, can we talk about convergence? I don't know, but you see what I mean. Because maybe it's time to have the live sector and the recording, let's say, sector working along with the artist in the metaverse as the playground for that. Maybe not. Tell me your thoughts about that, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I think before answering that, I just want to go back to what you previously mentioned around revolutions and platforms and something, and then I'll go to what Anne was saying. You mentioned Spotify and how artists can make a living, and I'm happy to talk about that. You know, I think the main concern that artists would have with regards to Spotify as a distribution channel is how can I make sure that my music is heard by as many people as possible by a more repeatable way as possible to keep them engaged for as long as possible, right? We as a company certainly help with them, but artists will immediately, even those that aren't signed in a label, will start thinking, how can I make my music which in a way that is very attractive for fans, right? In a way that fans will want to listen to it more and more and more and more. How can I find the fans that really want to listen to the music that I've made more and more and more and more, right? And they do that because their world is the music world. Their art is the music. And what we're seeing here today, as we move on to other platforms, platforms which are a little bit more visual, well, definitely more visual, is that we're seeing, as Anne was mentioning, some artists which have been in this space natively for the longest amount of time, and they transverse very easily, very fluidly between the audio space, the visual space, and any other media formats in between, with an ease that allows them to create interesting experiences on the visual space and on the visual vein, just as they do on the music space, right? For artists that perhaps haven't, as Anne was mentioning, that's where there are companies that can come and provide a little bit of help. Because, right, so those that have those natively built skill sets, they can focus as much time as they want in researching new tools, new software, new worlds that allow them to customize their visual experiences that they can use to present themselves and their musical work to fans. But for those that haven't, that's where companies like us, a label, can provide that help to them, right? We know the tools, we know the developers, we know the platforms out there, and we have done a lot of work in those platforms with those tools, with those developers. So more than anyone, we know the pitfalls. More than anyone, we know exactly how we can bring to life their vision, their creative vision that they have assembled in a magical way on the music side, on the audio side, towards very compelling, repeatable, and enjoyable visual playable media experiences, right? So you were mentioning about Roblox. Roblox is one of those platforms that we have worked with extensively in the past, and that, as you all know, we also invested. And so we have a good relationship, and hopefully we can continue working together as a platform to provide more visual based opportunities for our artists that want to explore these worlds that might be native and might be familiar with Roblox, but also those that aren't and that would need some help, but where there definitely are fans who would love to experience their world, their vision, their music in these platforms. And you were also talking about how the live music industry can play a part, and the role that we're doing with regards to the 5G project. So a lot of folks have commented this over the last year and a half. It's been a devastating period for the live music industry, and in many ways it was an experience in a period that I believe no one in the live music industry alive today has experienced anything like. But in the recorded music industry, it's not unlike what has been experienced a few years ago, when piracy was in its heyday, and the value that you could generate from recorded music was at an all-time low. The opportunities to distribute recorded music was at an all-time low, and in a sense, all activity in that sector kind of dried up, right? So that's what I believe the recorded music industry was so quick to react to what happened in the live music industry, because they still had the scars burning in their shoulder of what had happened previously. And I think Warner, as well as so many others in the space, jumped quickly to help our artists in the I don't want to say the absence of the live music industry, but in the current state of disarray that the live music industry was feeling themselves in. And so, in a sense, there has been a lot that we have been helping our artists with, providing them these venues, connections with the developers, and connection with the platforms. But I think that's also a place where the live music industry has historically gotten and had a lot of skill sets in and a lot of expertise. And that's partially what we're trying to do with the 5G project. So for those not familiar with the 5G Festival project, it's a UK government-funded R&D project comprised of 9 consortium partners, including Metropolis Studio, Virgin Media O2, Brighton Dome, Brighton Festival, etc., that are trying to bring together all of these disparate skill sets, right? From recorded music, from live industry, from technology and software, from virtual content, immersive content, etc., to create these experiences which allow for fans and musicians to engage in music in new ways that they haven't before, right? And so that's why I think there's going to be a lot of interesting projects that are coming out of this period of intense pain that has been lived, because restrictions and limitations are fertile grounds for creativity and for new avenues of business. You're muted, Ivan.
Yeah. I was saying, let's take it as a conclusion. New avenue for creativity ahead, and let's not forget. You did not forget. I know that, but the artist is now more part than ever of the equation and of this innovation. Let's say. Effort. I think it has to be a collective effort, and you prove, the three of you, that this is exactly all about that. And having Han working with gaming developers and artists, and you, Gordon, developing like incredible tools for them to express their craft, and you, Thiago, leading innovation at Warner with the artists. I think it's a good message for our audience to start with Fan and Content Day. If we have the time, I will let you just say some few words as a conclusion, or the guys at Wadifion as they cut me off. But let's please, maybe not anything related to innovation, maybe a rendezvous, something you will invite people to attend in the coming weeks or so. Music, whatever you want, a real festival, not something in the metaverse. Your call, something you will love to share to the audience to experience in the coming weeks.
I can start. It's not going to be in the coming weeks, but in March 2022, which is when the 5G Festival project is going to have its public showcase, we'd love for as many people to be involved and to experience what we're cooking up, and to feed back to us what you think is great, what you think is not so great, so that we can learn and continue iterating that for the industry, for the artists that we have worked with and will continue to work with. So stay tuned. It'll probably be across 3 different venues, including the O2, Metropolis Studio, and Brighton Dome, in March 22.
Love it. Gordon, your...
I guess I can use this opportunity to push my product, right?
This is the time. Yeah.
Perfect. I just want to clarify. Yeah. So I would encourage everybody to go to anything.world and download our package. We're available in Unity right now. You don't need any coding skills. I would love for everybody to go to anything.world, download our stuff. It's free, and try it out. Try out creating 3D worlds and see what you can build. That's kind of a product push, but we have a community. But do try it out and feedback.
We are here for that, and to play with it. Anne, please.
Yeah, I think that the metaverse will never replace live music, but it'll make it more accessible to those who maybe can't experience their favorite show that they've always wanted to go to, but they just can't make, or to have these new experiences with their friends around music. And what I would love is to invite people to come and on this journey with us, because we've worked with music artists, with radio hosts, with DJs, broadcasters, with live actors, with music reporters, DJs. There's so many more people who've been a part of our beta events, prototype events, and working with us to grow this. And we have so much fun every time. So anyone who wants to join, sign up for a beta and be a part of these early stages, it's going to be pretty exciting to build this with you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Anne. Thanks, dear guest, and Thiago and Gordon, thank you. again. And guys, I see you in a few minutes for another panel about gaming, a new playground for music. We're gonna continue, I guess, this conversation because this is just the beginning of all these new open doors for creativity and new models to emerge. Thanks again, and take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. That was very, very inspiring. And as always, thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Thiago and Gordon. I hope we have the chance to grab a beer soon in a conference and not to see you only in Zoom. So thank you again. And it's time now to announce the next keynote in a few minutes at 2 p.m. CST. And it will be a keynote on Hits Are Made by Fans, Not in Boardrooms, curated by our partner TuneCore. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.